Daddy, can we play PlayStation?
I have to take a Zoom call. Just hold on a second. 1 second, guys. I've just got to be... Sorry, guys. Hang on. I'm just getting set up.
Hey, honey. I just came in for a drink. Do you want something?
No, I need to... Hold on. Let me try and do this call.
I can make coffee. You want some coffee?
No!
I can wash it.
Hang on. Okay, sorry, finally found some peace and quiet. It's clear that COVID has forced us all to completely adapt to this new reality. Come join us on November 21st at Surviving the School Year, an event that will give you tactics and strategies for how to handle all of the chaos caused by this pandemic.
Hi there and welcome to OpenExO Live. So great to be with you here today. Today we have Anne Connelly calling in from Toronto, Canada. And as you can see on the screen, there's a great lineup of folks heading all the way into next year. And as usual, before we get going, I want to just share a few words that have some of our community members have shared about Anne. So we'll start with this one from Eunice, and he just says, Anne is a true blockchain expert and brings passion to her work. She is inspiring and it's an honor to call her a friend. I knew that she would be a perfect match with the OpenExO community. Next, we have from Kunal Sood. He just said, Anne is a trailblazer in the Bitcoin blockchain space. She is a beautiful soul and someone that shared with honesty and integrity. I wish her all the best with her initiative to reach over a million kids. Next, we have from Priscilla. Anne is an expert at bridging how tech can impact the real world problems. She has lived all over the world and speaks with knowledge and empathy on circumstances many from the Silicon Valley bubble can't relate to. We did also have one other that seems to have got lost, but I'd like to call up Anne now. Anne, welcome to OpenExO Live. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderfully. What a nice way to be introduced.
Yeah, we always like to just share from other people. So can you just give folks who are watching a little bit of a background as to how you got to where you are now and how you got involved within the OpenExO community?
Absolutely. How I got to where I am now is kind of an interesting story. I mean, my first career, as I call it, was in the humanitarian aid sector. So I worked with international aid organization Doctors Without Borders in Central African Republic and DR Congo. And as a part of that work, I used to carry knapsacks full of money through the jungle, through war zones, to try to be able to pay our staff because they were all unbanked. And so in 2012, when I learned about Bitcoin, I realized that it was going to be massively transformative for the populations that I had worked with, people who don't have access to financial services. And so that was kind of the beginning of my move into the blockchain sector and looking at applications for social impact. And so I got involved with this community sort of through Singularity. I went to their Global Solutions program in 2016, and I'm now faculty with SU Canada, and then got connected with just this great community of people, both there and at EXO, that are looking at applications of technology for solving enormous global challenges. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, that sounds really interesting, especially the trekking with money. That is crazy. Before we do continue, I do want to just remind everyone who's watching that you can ask questions no matter where you are. If you are watching this on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Facebook, you can just stick a question right there in the chat box, and we'll answer that as we go through this discussion. I did also want to just put up this from Israel that I just found, just saying, Anne is a global leader fostering the use of blockchain to positively impact the lives of the less fortunate on this planet. Anne possesses solid technical knowledge and is a great human being whose dedication transcends borders and professions. So, Anne, you spoke about the fact that you had a humanitarian aid background, and that's how you got into blockchain. So what is it about the blockchain that really sort of excites you in that sort of humanitarian space?
Absolutely. I think more than anything, blockchain enables decentralization, which allows you to essentially rethink the way that you structure society. So all of our societies are pretty much built off of these centralized models where it's government and corporations and other organizations that sit at the middle of every transaction we do, whether it's financial or sharing identity or anything like that. And so by removing the need for those centralized intermediaries, you can actually, really change the way societies operate, giving power back to the people and ownership back to the people in a way that's never been done before. And so, a lot of people that I talk to about cryptocurrencies and blockchain in places like Canada, where I'm from, or, the United States, they don't necessarily see the immediate value because in their lives, things work decently well for the most part. Governance, with the exception of maybe the past little while, works pretty well. Money works pretty well. But when you take yourself out of your own shoes and think about a lot of countries where some of those structural systems don't work that well, this technology has the potential to be completely transformational on the lives of individuals and citizens from those places.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But when it comes to the blockchain, though, like there's a bit of confusion. Of course, when was it? 2016, 2017, when we had like sort of the years of the ICO bubbles happening and whatever. And so, there's a lot of people that are very skeptical about the blockchain, and there's a lot of people who just don't get it. So, like, as an educator, what do you tell people?
I think for me, like when I see blockchain education, especially in the early days, it was so tech focused. It was, how does it work? What are the hash rates? What are the block sizes? These types of things. Because that's what got the early technologists excited about it, was the tech. But for ordinary people, that doesn't matter. So for me, when I look at, education and helping people understand the tech, it's not so much about the how, it's really about the why and what is the impact going to be on your life and the lives on people around the world. And when you can get them to reframe that, particularly kind of shedding some of the stigmas around cryptocurrencies about, it's only used for drugs and crime and trafficking and that sort of thing. I mean, that type of skepticism we saw at the beginning of the internet. I don't know if you remember, that the main topic of the conversation around the internet was that anyone could go and find a recipe for a bomb and make it. And that's, what the narrative was. But of course, we can see that today, while hypothetically that's possible, that's not really what the internet is used for. It's, changed the lives of people around the world. And so for me, it's really about sharing that narrative of the potential of what our world could look like and how your life would change, that helps people get on board with it.
Yeah, I mean absolutely. What I always say is that once the user interface is so easy that we don't care about the hash and that when we use the internet, we don't know what TCP whatever stands for. Like, people just don't know. And there's just the utility of it, and I think that the power in the blockchain will really come to fruition when people see that utility, right?
Yeah, and I think it's even the idea that they won't see it at all. That blockchain will just run in the background of everything they're doing, or everything will be built on it. And they'll get the benefits, but not necessarily know why, And so it's the best blockchain startups don't sell themselves as blockchain startups. They just sell themselves as a company solving a problem in a new way with a new technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, agree 100% there. Now, one of the projects you're working on right now is a graphic novel around around the blockchain. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've partnered with an artist out of Kenya and a Singularity alum named Chief Niamwea. And essentially our goal is to create educational materials for the next generation of blockchain developers and entrepreneurs. And in order to really inspire that next generation, you want the material to be fun and culturally relevant. So this story tells essentially the tale of Mora, who's this young woman in Kenya who is fighting against her evil Uncle Max, who's trying to use his centralized power to take over her ancestral homelands. And so she connects with this community of blockchain people and learns all about the technology, what it can do. And together they build applications and fight against Uncle Max and essentially build the decentralized community of the future. And what's so amazing about it is when you look at the history of pastoral communities in Kenya, they're inherently decentralized. And so what we're doing is, going back to the roots of that culture and the roots of those communities, but showing people this is how you can take that history and do that in a modern way. So here's how, blockchain can enable these types of societies to operate moving forward. So we're pretty excited. It's going to be a graphic novel and an animated motion comic. And our goal is to reach over 1 million kids.
Yeah, so I mean that really is great. Is the aim to be reaching kids across the world, or is there a focus particularly on Africa, or is that the story is based in Africa?
The story is based in Africa. Our primary goal is to reach African kids. We're going to share it with everyone around the world, also to be able to share African art and culture with other people. But our main goal really is to try to bring more diversity to the teams that are building the blockchain infrastructure. I mean, this is going to be the infrastructure of almost everything we have in the world, all of our systems. And so you need diverse teams building them, teams that understand, the context in different places in the world. And right now, unfortunately, that's just not the case. So for us, it's about sharing African art and culture, but it's mostly about how can we get more kids interested in, developing and learning about the technology so they can build their own future.
Absolutely. So we can really sort of grow that community of I don't know, blockchainers, of people that are saying, how do we utilize the blockchain to transform the world, to make the world, more equal, better, more sustainable, etc. Right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's really trying to inspire people to be able to envision a world that they want to live in the future, but then actually giving them the tools to create it themselves. So one of the neat parts about the project is that we've partnered with a number of blockchain education organizations across the continent. We've got representation from South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, Cameroon, as well as some from the United States and Kenya. So that after the kids, learn about blockchain a little bit in the book, they can actually go directly into continuing their learning journeys and get the training that they need to turn it into a fruitful career.
Perfect. So I see some questions are starting to come in, but we'll get to those now. I just want to find out those that are watching, as well as the OpenExO community, what can people actually do to assist with this, right? Like to actually be a part of this. We have quite a growing and large African community as well as folks around the world. What could they do?
So there's two main ways that we need help. The first, we've raised over $50,000 from across the blockchain community with great partners like Algorand and Interchain Foundation, Cardano. But we're looking for additional funding to be able to produce the animated comic. So you can make a donation at trustgraphicnovel.com. But more importantly, we really want to hit that 1 million kid goal. And so to achieve that, we're giving the digital version of the book away completely free. So we need help getting it in the hands of as many kids as possible. So if you have links to any type of networks that have a lot of kids involved, whether they're educational, technological, whatever it is, any groups that you think could help us promote the book and get it to more people, that would be a great help.
Perfect. That's great. We'll most definitely do that and share that in the chat here as well as on the platform. This isn't your first book, right?
It's not. I've got another book that's launching in January. It's called Bitcoin and the Future of Fundraising. And essentially, it's a guide, a really simple 101 guide for charity fundraisers who want to launch their own cryptocurrency donation programs. So I actually was working in a charity back in 2014 when I was really getting involved in crypto. And I launched one of the world's first crypto donation programs at an organization called Dignitas International. And so I really think that charities have a lot to benefit from the crypto community, taking advantage of this new asset that they can use. And so just helping them, same sort of thing, overcome some of the stigmas and the concerns about how to set up a program and getting them started. So the book launches in January, but we have a free preview available right now at bitcoinfundraising.com. So you can take a look there.
Perfect. So let's just get into this question from Carlos before we continue. He just says, Carlos from Mexico, what are the uses you think it can apply blockchain to the retail industry for the customer journey? Not only thinking about the payment method or as a user authentication, what other business cases do you think may apply to retail?
Yeah, the biggest one for retail is really supply chain. So traceability for the customer to see, where all of the elements of a resale product have come from. A really great example of how that's being done right now in the Canadian market is you're able to buy a package of tofu and then trace it all the way back to the soybean where that was grown. So you can follow it from the farm where the bean was grown to the processing plant to the trucker that drove it to the next location. So there's really good transparency on, who's touched your product, who's working with it. And in cases around, maybe less so, this is retail, but around food and agriculture, you can actually look at reducing slavery and that type of thing in industries by tracing, where your fish comes from. Or similarly, what are the conditions in the factory where your shirt came from? When you have that level of transparency, you just have the greater ability to make good choices in your purchasing habits. So I would check out the soy tracing one is a grain discovery project. And it's incredible. If you actually search online for a Google image for just like soy and blockchain or tofu blockchain, there's like a package with a QR code on it. You can actually scan that QR code with your phone and see the whole path. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, that really is the future. I think, right, is openness, transparency. And so I think if you're in retail and you're not thinking about that, there are going to be retailers, whether they're online or physical, that are, and this is what people are going to come to expect, right? Is that they can see this sort of data.
And more than that, too, it's not even just for the consumer. It's also for the retailer. So like Walmart, for example, is using blockchain to trace their lettuce products. And that helps them from a health perspective, because right now, if you have, say, an E. coli or salmonella outbreak in a product, you're clearing shelves of every lettuce product that you have across every store, when really that might not be necessary. And so with blockchain, within a matter of minutes, as opposed to a matter of weeks, you can know exactly where that one product came from and know exactly which products you need to pull off the shelf. So there's some really interesting applications there, both from a cost savings perspective, but also from a health prevention and protection perspective.
No, absolutely. Now there are many use cases. In 2017, I was actually working with an online real estate platform that was fractionalizing real estate before, and so of course looking into how could the blockchain be of assistance with that, right? Now, and I came across so many great examples, and some where you just think that doesn't need the blockchain. A database is good enough for that. But what are the really exciting things that you are looking out for and that you're most excited about with regards to the future of blockchain?
One of my most passionate projects right now is in and around quadratic funding and quadratic voting. So these are concepts that are, distinct from blockchain, but blockchain makes them a lot easier, if that makes sense. So the idea is, in cases where there's either kind of matching funding that's available or people need to vote on something, essentially in today's world, what can happen is, let's say you have a community of 100 people, and 99 people want the city funding to go to build a fountain, and one person wants the city funding to go to build a highway or something.
Yeah.
And if that one person will donate, $100 towards that cause, and the citizens, the other 99, can only donate $1 each, that one person has all this power in determining where the money will go, or where the results of the votes will go.
Yeah.
And so quadratic funding or voting essentially creates a system where the volume of votes matters more than just a one-to-one basis. So if you, for example, let's say it was a matching funding case where, for every dollar a citizen gave, the city would match $1. In today's situation, it would be a one-to-one match, which would enable one person to give $100 and outmatch everybody else to get that funding.
Yeah.
In a quadratic funding scenario, people who gave less money would get matched more at a higher percentage rate than those who gave more. And so it essentially gives more power to the voice of a community and takes power away from single individuals who might have more power in that power structure. And so I find that just absolutely fascinating as a mechanism for saying, okay, here's just a totally different way to do elections and to do matching funds that we've never thought of, that really enables communities that haven't had a voice in the past to have more of a voice in a future.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. We have another question here from Atef, and he's just saying, what are the challenges of implementing the blockchain in education?
Yeah, I mean, education, there's some really cool projects with blockchain in education, particularly around incentivization for education. So there's kind of an earn to learn model that they're looking at now, where let's say one blockchain company wants to incentivize developers to learn and understand their platform. So what they'll do is they'll set up a course. If you complete the course, you actually get paid in microtransactions of cryptocurrencies. And so that's really interesting. So imagine if Google needed a whole bunch more Python developers, they could put up their own course. They could, give them these transactions when they finish it, and ideally then would have a greater pool of individuals to choose from when they were hiring. The challenge with that is it can come back to, again, what is the greater good? So if you've got a company that can incentivize a particular platform to learn on, it doesn't mean it's the best platform for everyone out there. And so there's really a balance of, again, incentives and how to ensure that the best platform is winning, or, you're not pulling resources away from other platforms that maybe have less to give away to potential developers.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to be ensuring that companies and organizations are really starting with purpose, right? And looking at that massive transformative purpose versus what's in it, short-termism, etc. But that is a whole other conversation that we could have. And I do want to just find out, for those people who are watching, who are new to the sort of crypto space, what would you say are the first best steps to actually get involved?
Oh, absolutely. The number one step is just buy some Bitcoin. And it doesn't have to be a lot. I recommend you go out and you spend an interesting evening, you learn something new, you buy $1 worth of Bitcoin, watch it go up and down, and then there's no risk to you, really. It's just an interesting activity. But for me, it's really not about how much are you investing. It's about participating in a system that will most likely be the financial system of the future, and essentially the back end to everything that we look at, whether it's money or identity or some of the other topics we talked about. And so that's my biggest piece of advice. And if you need help, I've got a great blog that I'll tweet out after this session that can walk you through step by step on how to do it. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more in terms of getting involved. And within the OpenExO community, we do have our Exos blockchain, which we use for transformation transactions within our community, and it's a great way just to start. Yes, we are still in a stage where it's not as user friendly as we would like. Yes, you have to have long strings for for your wallet ID and all of that. It's not as easy as a credit card. We would have to agree with that. But getting in and learning, I think is a part of it. Starting small and not taking the risk, right?
I mean, think back to when you opened your computer and you had to type, in DOS like /win to open Windows and that type of thing. I mean, that's just where we're at with blockchain, and things will improve significantly. But for now, it's all about taking part and learning as much as you can.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Anne, it's been great chatting to you. I hope you have a fantastic evening that side. Anything you'd like to just close off with as we end off the call today?
Thanks for having me, and check out the teaser of the animated comic for Trust Graphic Novel on trustgraphicnovel.com.
Awesome, Anne. Well, it's really great to chat to you, and we'll see you in the community. Thanks very much for being with us.
Sounds good. Take care.
Bye-bye. So that was Anne Connelly, all the way from Canada. Great to chat to her about the blockchain. We're going to end off today's call just with a little video about the consultant certification, which is starting on the 30th of November. So if you want to know how you can transform your organization or help others to do exactly that, do join us on the certification. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.
I have to say, we've been going through this for 4 weeks. It has been definitely the best investment in my professional development that I've ever made. And I'm not being paid by Yaroslav or by Kevin to say that. The thing is, what Kevin outlines to you is an incredible richness that you will only start to begin to appreciate once you engage with the content. And Yaroslav is a very modest fellow, but the work has been done over all of these sprint cycles for consultant training has really delivered. I've developed a fantastic product. I mean, my understanding of the method and the approach and its application to a client has been absolutely outstanding.